Good evening. Happy Monday, everyone, and welcome to Respus Live. Happy Monday. It is so great to be back with you guys on this evening. If you would please start a watch party and please share this amazing podcast. If you would please start a watch party and share this podcast. Good evening. We're so glad to be live on tonight. Again, happy Monday. It is so good to be alive with everything going on. We're just grateful. So happy Monday. And tonight our topic is the time is now. The time is now. It is now time for us to move forward and to not talk about it, but we need some actions about the things that's going on in the world today. Of course, there's so many topics that we'll discuss tonight. I have my special guest, Pastor Jermaine Armour. He is the pastor of the St. Luke AME Zion Church here in Wilmington, North Carolina. And if you know anything about him, you know he is a community pastor. So I thought it was great to have him on tonight so that we can talk about the events that's happening in the community and what is going on here locally, and of course, what is going on worldwide. The time is now. My grandmother used to tell me when I was a little girl that weight broke the wagon down. And I was like, weight broke the wagon down. I was thinking like heavyweight. But you know, sometimes when we wait, when we sit down and we just sit still and we don't move forward, we're not being productive. Now is the time for us to be productive. We've talked, we've prayed, but what are our actions? What are we going to do to move forward, to change the world, to make sure that racism doesn't continue to exist for our family and our children, to make sure that we're all created equal, that to make sure that we all are loving and caring citizens of the United States of America. There's so much for us to talk about with everything that's going on in the news. We're going to talk about other issues that happened with, of course, Mr. Floyd. We're going to talk about COVID-19, coronavirus, and how church has changed for all of us. It's been a minute since we've been in an actual sanctuary. So we'll get a chance to talk to Pastor Armour about that as well. So if you would please hashtag the time is now. If you want to make a difference in society, if you want to make a change, if you want to be a part of change, the time is now for us to do something. We've talked, we've prayed. It is now time for us to have some actions. So we're going to ask a question. What are you doing? How have you contributed to making a change? What have you done to help change America? What have you done? So again, we have Pastor Armour with us on tonight, and we're going to ask him to introduce himself to. Hello, Miss Weeding. Thank you so much for signing on tonight. Thank you, Miss Shirley, for signing on. We're so glad to have all of you on tonight. Thank you so much, Miss Shirley. Appreciate your support. And now I'm going to introduce to the Respus Live audience, Pastor Jermaine Armour. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
How are you?
It's about time. I'm always the last one to come onto the show, but the last shall be first.
That's what the
and
word
the first
says.
shall be last. But I'm excited to be here. I've been trying to get here since the beginning.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm glad I'm here. I'm not going to even complain. I'm
Are
be
you sure?
excited.
Are you sure you're not going to complain? Because that's what it sounds like.
I should have been up here a long time ago, but I'm back for the first time. Yes. Good evening, Respus Live community. Listen, I'm sitting here with the Oprah Winfrey of the Wilmington, North Carolina area, and so we're so excited about what God is doing. So I'm just happy to be. I'm a fan today. So
yes,
that's where I am.
So glad to have you here. And actually, Pastor Armour, you are actually on before my pastor, Dr. Terry L. Henry. And so you should feel honored.
Make note of that, please. Get your producers, please make a note of that. I want that in Braille. I want it in French. Okay, I want on the Constitution that I'm here before the Reverend Dr. Terry is here. So Terry Henry. So yes, I'm feeling real good now.
Well, his schedule is so busy. So every time we try to get him, something pops up. So unfortunately, he has not been able to get on the show yet. But we're glad to have you here tonight, Pastor Armour from the St. Luke AME Zion Church. Just tell us a little bit about your church family. I have had the opportunity, thank you so much, to come over on several occasions and to share. And it is such a place of love, and I feel at home when I'm there. But I noticed that your church family, the church family, is a giving as a giving church. I noticed that even after Hurricane Florence, and you all had to have church downstairs because of the damage in the sanctuary.
Yes.
You guys were still in the community serving.
Yes.
And I was just so baffled. I said, when you find a servant leader, because we have all different types of leaders,
Right.
but a servant leader is different. They
Right.
serve. So even in the midst of you needing things yourself and your church needing things, you guys still had like a Walmart thing going on.
Yes.
People were
Yes.
walking in, just picking
Yes.
up items in the midst of needing things yourself.
Yes.
You guys still found the time to give.
Right.
And that is so beautiful to see. It is so beautiful to watch. And so I love knowing that even in the midst of your church body needing something, you guys still beat the pavement. I mean,
Yeah.
you were in the highways and the byways and the
Yeah.
hedges.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
serving,
You were.
just serving.
Yeah.
So tell us about that servant attitude that your entire church family has, really.
Right. Well, I've been here 6.5 years. I'm a Methodist pastor by nurture and nature, and so we move around a lot. So getting here 6.5 years ago, back in the day when we were little, if someone called you a name, you would say it takes one to know one.
Absolutely.
So I knew that this was a serving church before I got there. St. Luke has always been a serving church, the loving people that love to give. And so if anything, I could help to just maybe awaken the gift that was already in them. And so with the serving spirit that I had and the servant spirit that they already possessed, 6.5 years ago, it was like Wonder Twin powers activate.
I got that.
And so we began to speak in the atmosphere, anything that we wanted to form. And so we fast forward to the hurricane situation with Hurricane Florence, and then we rebirthed the Walmart. We call it the Walmart of the South.
Yes.
And so it was a lot of the ideas may be my inspiration, but I have a wonderful church with wonderful people who
Yes.
love to create and who want to do and want to help and want to serve. And so I say that I have the best church in the world. They just got an okay pastor. So they make me look really good. And having that servant spirit is what any pastor would want.
Absolutely.
And so they do a wonderful job. And so we're having a wonderful time here serving the Lord together.
That is great. That is so great. I just wanted to let you know that Cedron Emerson says, hello, Pastor.
Oh,
He
that's
wants
my
to-
guy, Cedron. I don't know if I can do shout outs on here, but I want to shout out the best barbershop in the land. That is the Just Cut It Barbershop. Cedron Emerson is the owner there. Shout out to Boogie. Shout out to Mr. Walker. Shout out to Q. Shout out to all my barbers there. I'm going to see y'all Monday because you see I haven't cut my hair since the coronavirus.
And I just want to add, we're going to be glad when you go and see him. That's all I'm going to
well,
say.
You know what? You know,
But
okay.
Cedron, listen, I've been trying to get Cedron on, and
Oh, it's done. It's done.
no,
I'm good.
it's not that he hasn't been willing. It's just
Right.
either, most of the time it's me, some conflict with my schedule, and we had to reschedule
Well,
twice.
I'm going to need you to get that together.
I'm going to get it
Reverend.
together because I really. So we going Rev now. That's
Yeah,
what we
I'm
gonna
just
do.
when I get serious about Cedron, I want you to get
So
it together.
as soon as I can, our schedules match. It's not him. It's definitely me.
Okay.
So thank you for joining. I see that my sisters are on. I want to give them a shout out. Pamela Respus, Aretha Respus, Angela Imes Respus. Thank you so much for your love and support. We are so glad to have you watching us on tonight. Pamela Marshburn is watching. Thank you so much, Evans.
My chief of staff.
Your chief of
my
staff
chief
is
of staff,
on.
my
Pam.
director of ministry. Can I shout her out real quick?
Yes.
Most of our ideas, like 90% of them, come from her. Okay, so she makes us all look good. So shout out to Pam.
She says,
My
"Make us
director.
proud."
That's it. That is the one who really covers us in ministry. So we thank God for her.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Pam says, "Make us proud." That's what she said.
That's what she said.
Yes,
I'm gonna
thank
do
you.
my best, Pam.
Thank you, Pam, for
I'm gonna
giving
do my
him those
best.
instructions. Chrisilla, thank you so much for watching, and Teresa
Hey,
Jones.
yay,
Yes,
Chrisilla. Love her.
Chrisilla is on as well. So we understand that there is a difference between servant leadership. Actually, I've taken a couple of courses in my degree that I'm trying to obtain about servant leadership, and it
Okay.
is amazing the difference between a leader and a servant leader. It's night and day.
Right.
Because your main focus is to serve people, and in the midst of serving people, I noticed today that you were where.
Yeah. Today, was that yesterday or today?
I don't know. I saw it on your page.
Oh,
You
that
were-
was yesterday.
Yeah, it was yesterday.
Yeah,
Where were you yesterday?
We were downtown, I guess on Water Street
Okay.
there, One Christian Network. Shout out to Sister Emma Baltazar. They sponsored and hosted a prayer wall. And so it was a great idea. So we had all 300 people down there yesterday. And so we just prayed for an entire hour for our city and for our land, for our nation. But that was mainly One Christian Network, and I was there to support. Yeah.
That's great. And that still is a reflection of how you serve the community. Yes, that you get together with other leaders and just stand on the wall and just pray. And prayer is good. And we know the power of prayer because we're recipients of the power of prayer. And prayer has changed so many things. And in the midst of that, it has also changed us.
Yes.
But now it's time for us to do something else. Would you not agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey. We know him as Frederick Douglass, who was known for saying that I prayed for 20 years, but nothing happened until I got up off of my knees. And now we're in a position where the church be anxious in nothing, so we have to pray. But what happens and what do we do when the church gets off of his knees? And we're at a point now to we have to get off of our knees and we have to put the work in. We have to do the work. We've been quoting and declaring that faith without works is dead.
Absolutely.
But we never walked into what the work is. Sometimes we don't know what the work looks like. And so hopefully, because of what's happening in our nation, our world today, that the church will take the verse seriously that says that you put your hand to the plow and you do not look back. And so we can't cruise no more. In the words of Salt and Pepper, it's time for the church to push it real good.
Yes.
And so that's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm believing I'm going to see. And that's the only kind of mission that I'm going to rock with because we have to please God.
Absolutely.
And that's our goal there.
Absolutely. I love that quote. It's amazing. It is time for us to get off of our knees and to move forward and to take some actions. And what are some of the things that you would like to see as far as actions by the faith community as well as just the community at large? Because this is how I feel. And this is my personal opinion. I do believe if you are a leader and you have not spoke about what is going on, I question every leadership skill set that you said you have.
Right.
Because every leader by now should have said something. You know, I don't care if it's an organization, a church, a business. You know, our CEO made a statement. I feel like every leader, now is the time for us to speak up and to make sure that not only are we talking, but we're getting up off our knees after we finish praying and taking some actions, because I love how God is. He's strategic. And this is, I read this somewhere and then I can understand. He silenced the entire world. The quarantine, the COVID-19 silenced the world.
Yes.
Nothing else really mattered on the news.
Yes.
And then this event happened with Mr. Floyd, where everyone had to see it because they were silent.
Yes.
They weren't at work. We weren't out eating. We weren't on vacation. We weren't at the beach.
Right.
We were home. He silenced the world for us to see the police brutality and how it's still relevant in 2020.
Right.
I'm appalled that we're still dealing with so much in 2020. You would think by now that there have been some drastic changes.
Right.
But he paused the world so that everyone could see that this is real. And so now we see a people that's speaking on it that may have been too busy before. But
Right.
because the world is silent now, because you really can't go anywhere and do anything.
Right.
So we actually had the opportunity to be silent and look and see exactly what happened. And that was the most horrifying. I can't even find the words to describe that video. It was just so crushing. And for any mother as well as any father, it was just difficult to see. And to see the posture of the officer and his facial expressions and no regret or no compassion.
Right.
And I just can't understand that, because you have to have a cold heart to be able to do something like that.
Yes.
I don't have a worst enemy, but if I did, I'd give him water.
Right.
I'd give him some bread.
Right. We're called to love our enemies, right? Yeah. Do good to them.
Yeah, that's what we're called to
Right.
do. You know, we all have to hang out with them, but we are called to serve them.
That's
and
right.
so I couldn't understand the mindset. But it just goes to show you that the enemy is rapid in 2020.
Right,
And
yes.
I don't care if we thought he was asleep,
Right.
his head, you know, because our enemy is not in flesh and blood.
Right,
You know, we
right.
have to remember that.
Right.
And so, but we do understand that it is time for us now to call out and to put forth some action. Hopefully I'll be able to have Chief Williams on in the next couple of weeks, so we can talk about
really doing well.
Listen, we're going to make some changes,
Yeah.
and we're going to put some things into action, and we're going to get people involved.
Right.
So I'm trying to I have a meeting this Thursday with a few leaders. We're trying to put something in place where we can actually do something, because I'm tired of talking about it.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
And if you've noticed anything about my page, I'm always positive. I never talk about politics, and I don't talk about religion.
Right.
But this now, I realize it's time for me to use this platform to continue to push what's going on. Now, this movement is important.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I have a 16-year-old that's looking at me, and I want her to see that we saw something that was not right,
Right.
and we made some moves
Right.
forward to make sure to make sure that there's going to be a change, because we are the change agents.
That's right.
We
That's
are.
right.
So we have to stop talking. The
Right.
time is now for us to get some things in action. What would you like to see the faith community do in order for us to kind of shift what's going on?
Right. Well, if you look at our history, whenever there was a black agenda that was pushed, even from the movement of Marcus Garvey, even from what Medgar Evers did in Mississippi, what King did in Alabama, the civil rights movement. This is the first time in history where a civil rights movement for African Americans have been pushed, and the church has not been in the forefront. If you look at the protests that's happening now, we're chanting out George Floyd's name, but no one is chanting out the name of Jesus. We're holding up signs that say Black Lives Matter, but no one is holding up a Bible. No one is holding up a Quran. No one is holding up a Tanakh. No one is holding up the Torah. And so the church just has to be, in my opinion, we have to do what Mary did and not what Martha did. Martha was really, really busy doing a whole bunch of stuff, but Mary just sat in the presence of God. And so the church has to be present when it comes to these protests. We have to be present when it comes to making changes to not just voter education, not just voter registration, but voter education, not just demonstration, but legislation. So when we get off of our knees, there is some work that needs to be. We can chant all day, but somebody needs to have great penmanship. So we have to write some things into law, some things that we want to change. I preached on Sunday that you have to put it in his hands. And I talked about how Jesus fed the 5,000. But before we get to the meal that the little boy had, or before we get to the difference in which Philip saw it and what Andrew saw it, the Bible says that when Jesus went away to Galilee, that the crowd followed him because they saw him heal diseases.
Right.
And the only reason why they followed him because they saw him making a change.
Absolutely.
If we want our world, our city to begin to follow, then we're going to have to make a change.
Absolutely.
They're going to have to see something very different. So we can't go back to the same guidelines and laws that got us in this predicament, or that way or favor one group or one ethnic group over someone.
Absolutely.
We have to make everything fair. And I believe that the church is a layer to that. It's not all to that. But right now, I'm not seeing the church as in the forefront as I would like.
Right.
Wilmington, we are stepping up. I'm so glad to see there's so many great pastors in the city, and we've come together. And so we just want to see more, that the church has to be in the full forefront. I'm not going to be preachy today, but the harvest is plentiful. It's the laborers that are few. So God is saying it's a whole bunch of work and a whole bunch of chaos out there that you guys can heal. So I'm not going to give you more work. I just need more laborers.
Absolutely.
So more churches have to do more good things. And there are some churches that are doing some great things.
Absolutely.
Pastors doing some great things, because I know them all. And so I commend Wilmington for the protests we've done so far, but we know it's more that has to be done.
It has to be done. And,
Yes.
and you know, I have noticed once I ride through Wilmington and I see the protests downtown, I don't see a lot of familiar faces.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I wonder why. And I've had the opportunity to ask a few people why they're silent at this time, because now is the time for us to speak and to move and to have and make some type of action plan and put something in place. But there's been so many people that's been silent, and I wonder why, because this is the time for us to move forward. And as you stated, you know, push it, make sure that we have an action plan and then put it to work, because we need to bring everyone together. I got a message from one of my girlfriends I went to high school with, and she, you know, asked me to go to lunch with her because after seeing the video, she she looked at her life and she realized that she didn't hang around people except for people that look like her.
Right.
And so she says, Sharon, I would love for us to go out to eat. She says, because I've looked at myself and I realized that I haven't done my part. So she wants to start with just going out to eat with me. And I say, sure, we'll find the time. But Pastor Armour, I'm sure you're the same way. I've been eating with my friends forever.
Right.
You know,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I've had dear friends all my life that look different than me, that are smarter than me, that are more intellectual and more intelligent than I am. I like to surround myself with people that can push me and that I can learn from. And I am smart enough to know that it doesn't matter the color of their skin.
Right.
And so I go back to when I was a little girl and how my grandmother raised us. She raised us to respect everyone, no matter what color their skin was. And I don't see that.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I don't look at a person and see the color of their skin. I see their heart. And that's just the way I was raised. And then once you take how you were raised and mix that with your relationship with Christ, it changes everything.
Changes everything.
And so I'm just so grateful that I don't have to sit down and say, okay, I need to have dinner or lunch with someone that doesn't look like me because I've been doing it all my life.
Right.
But it is good to see that video and this movement has made people look in the mirror and say, you know what, I need to make a change. I was grateful that she reached out to me. And I love it when we can see ourselves but want to make a change, because if we continue to see ourselves and do nothing to change, we've done nothing with what God has revealed to us. And so I appreciate the fact that she saw that she needed to make a change in her own life. And so this movement has caused so many people to look at themselves and to see where they are. How has it changed you? Because like I said, we've already been outside of our circle, so to speak, for lack of better terminology. But what have you taken away from this movement that has changed your life and your projective?
So it's before this happened, and we go back to as far as I'll say Oscar Grant being murdered by a transit cop when he was in the same position that George Floyd was. He was on his stomach, hands behind his back, cuffed. And the police officer pulled out his gun and thought he was reaching for his taser. So we traveled then to 2012, because that was 2009 with Trayvon Martin, and then the many murders that happened after that, and then all the way to George Floyd. I think the difference is all of those other ones I talked to my boys about. You know, I was talking to people who looked like me about it. But now with this, I'm having the opportunity to talk to people who don't look like me about it. And so I've been on several Zoom calls. I was on one today with some Duke Divinity students who kind of just wanted to know what's really going on and what can we do. Had several conversations with white brothers and sisters who just wanted to know and wanted to hear, and we wanted to hear from them. So for the first time, we are cross-pollinating these conversations when before we were isolated. So I think even that is going to be a change. I often think about the song, an old gospel song that says, this is just a rehearsal, but when we get to heaven, we're going to really sing. Well, if we think that heaven is going to be quite like this, if we think it's going to be whatever it's going to be, if this is the rehearsal now. So we need to be rehearsing. If we think heaven's going to be full with a whole bunch of people and people getting along, getting together, then we need to rehearse that right now if we think it's going to be like that when we get there. So this is our time right now.
The time is now.
And so that's one of the major things that have changed. I'm having these conversations with people who don't look like me. And to see their response and to see their compassion has really been something that I have hope in, that, okay, I think there's going to be a shift. I think that we're going to make some change because we're doing it together.
Absolutely. Tiffany Jones commented, this moment has allowed people of other races desiring to have an open dialogue.
Yes.
So true, Tiffany.
Yes. So true. Difficult conversations, but you can't conquer what you refuse to confront. And so having these conversations are absolutely great to have. I had a conversation today with a group of students, and one of the things that one of the young ladies said was that, I'm sorry because we did this. And one of the things that my good friend, Reverend Clifford Barnett, the city council member, would say is, don't beat yourself up. And so I told the young lady, you didn't do this. So it's a difference from being sorry because you did something and then apologetic because of something happened. You can be apologetic that it happened, but you can't take the blame because
Absolutely.
you, the person I'm looking at, did not do this.
Exactly.
Okay, you weren't responsible for 401 years of slavery. You weren't responsible for segregation, so you didn't do it, and that began to lift something off of them. You mentioned something about relationships and how you've always had friends that were not black, and so that's nothing new to you and nothing new to me. A lot of my white friends, I'm telling them that don't be so, and don't push it. Don't be so intentional. There's not a white friend quota I need to get by Friday. There's not a black friend quota I need to have by the end of the month because of this situation.
Absolutely.
But pray that God will create the situation and the space so these relationships that form will be more organic.
Yes.
They'll be more ordained.
Absolutely.
They'll be divine. And then it won't see so ingenuous. And so when many churches are saying, well, Pastor, what can we do? Just pray and tell the Lord, we were not open for it before because we didn't know it before, but now we're open.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now we're ready to begin these relationships. Now we're ready to cross lines that we didn't even know that was there, even lines that we were guilty of ignoring.
Absolutely.
And God will make the space because
Exactly.
He will create that room. He will make that room. And so that's what I'm challenging a lot of my friends to do. And let's just have the conversation, and then we'll take it from there.
And that is so true. We have to have those difficult conversations. And the thing that has changed me is because I stated earlier, I don't do politics or religion on my Facebook page. I'm just inspirational, dropping a few things here and there and a few selfies, and that's about it. But this has changed me as far as this opportunity that I have with Respus Live to talk about it, and then to actually make a change and get an action plan together and move forward. So I'm excited about once we get the action plan, we can move forward. But I realized that I had a platform, and I knew that now was the time for me to utilize it and allow other people to come up and to discuss how they feel about it and how they feel about it. So I put aside, not talking about it and saying, now this is the time for me to use this platform in a very good way. As I stated, that my 16-year-old can say, well, my mother at this time, she opened a platform so people can talk about it, and then put an action plan in place. And so years from now, when we talk about how we overcome and how things have changed, we all can say that we did something, that we just didn't sit idle and sit silent. And as Tiffany stated too, there's a lot of people that are silent. And I understand. I've been silent prior to that. Prior to this incident, I've not posted. I've seen the videos. I've seen the beatings. I've seen the shootings. I've seen all of it. But I was quiet because I didn't want to use my platform for that. I didn't want it to be misconstrued or misunderstood. But when I saw that video, my life changed. I will never be the same person again after watching that. It was horrific to say the least, but it was life-changing for me. Now is the time for us to speak, and now is the time for us to move forward with some type of action. So it changed me in that aspect.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, in that aspect. So change is good. Thank you, Phyllis, for joining, and Latanya Barrett, Jamisha Latoya, thank you.
Latoya Barrett, the prophetess.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
She's on. Jamisha Fullwood is here. Manisha, Maya, Tiffany Jones, Nate Stratman.
Nate, pastor of Hope Community Church. Awesome man of God. That's my guy. Wonderful pastor, wonderful congregation. Nate, so shout out to Nate. Wonderful man. Yeah, wonderful guy.
Joyce Hewitt is on. Felicia Grady is on. And we have, of course, Cheryl Jones, who?
Oh, Cheryl Jones. Okay, that's one of my members. Yeah, that's Cheryl Jones. That's one of my members.
Valerie
St. Luke,
Bland.
Yes, St. Luke, stand up. We in the building.
My cousin John Gore is watching, and Big B is watching.
Big B. Okay. Big B, best DJ in the land.
Absolutely. He talking about, hey. He was
What
here
up,
last
B?
week. Aquanetta is watching. And
Aquanetta.
Pastor Jimmy Thompson is watching.
Okay, Jimmy Thompson. I haven't met him yet, but I know Sister
Well, you have
Linda.
not missed a thing.
Yeah.
If you have
Jimmy,
not
I don't
met
even
Jimmy,
know you, but I heard great things about you. You see how she's talking about you, Jimmy. So I can't wait to meet you, Jimmy.
Nothing
I
if you
can't
have
wait to
not
meet you,
met
man.
Jimmy. We also have Priscilla Cookie Murphy on, and David Moore is watching, and Marilyn Franks. So thank you all for signing on
Oh,
today.
Marilyn Franks, that's a member of my church too.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
St. Luke's in the house. You want to give a shout out to your family?
Yeah, listen, to all of the members of St. Luke, I love you. Thank you for supporting your pastor, best church in the land. And so I love y'all all. I'm a cash app all of y'all, at least 50 cent for the day. So get your cash app ready. You're going to see 50 cent from your pastor. All right.
Yes,
Thank you guys.
We have Elder Lisa Halls-Webb on as well, and
Okay.
my
Okay,
sister
Elder.
Dr. Jessica Respus is on as well. So we're grateful
Okay.
to have everyone sign on tonight. Thank you guys for joining us, and please share the video. We're talking about current events. So since we've talked about the police brutality and
Yes.
that, let's go into COVID-19 and how it has changed church.
Yeah, it really
Church
has.
has changed.
Yeah.
I am able to watch several services on Sunday. I'm able
Okay.
to sign on to listen to Sunday school.
Yeah.
And I'm able to visit different churches on Sunday. So tell me how different it is for you now pastoring during this time.
Right. Well, I feel that I'm in my element because I pastor such a traditional church. I often tell Bishop Hunter when he sent me here is that you sent a Def Jam pastor to a Motown church, but Boyz II Men and Aretha Franklin were on the same label, so we can still make beautiful music together. And so we have been really working very diligently over the last 6 years to take our church from being so colonial to being global. And so our church has done very, very well with that, with screens everywhere and electronic giving we did 2 years ago, the swipe machine, and how we connect with people through our text ministry and through our emails. And so we went paperless, where we don't do bulletins no more. We just did one sheet of paper that was front and back, that was 20-weight paper, that we didn't use a whole bunch of colorful ink that will waste money. And so it was a shift for our church to kind of be more competitive, what I thought, for this day and time. And so when this hit, we looked around and was like, okay, this is our territory. We've been planning for this, not even knowing that this was coming. We were just doing ministry. We were just learning how to serve God in this present age. And so now that we're in this COVID-19 era, we have to step it up another notch. And so we are now transitioning from social media to social ministry now, because this is going to be the way it's going to be. We will probably get back to church at some point, but everybody, whether you could preach good or preach not so good, everybody is a mega pastor now. When you get online, there are people who are watching you who've never watched you before. So we're trying to put in, and we are putting in, systems that will be repeatable and sustainable, so that when we go back, I don't want to use the 500 followers that are tuning in every Sunday to hear the message. So we're creating things that will make sure that we will keep these things repeatable and sustainable, so that we can keep that congregation. Because I'm not getting a whole bunch of people from other churches that's watching our program. We're getting people who don't go to church, period.
Absolutely.
And that's what we want, right? We want that. And so we are excited about the new harvest that God has allowed us to touch, and we're going to just keep on touching them as much as we can. But the basics things that we are doing, we are moving to a low touch church, but a high touch ministry. And so we ordered all type of electronic soap dispensers and electronic towel dispensers, and some of the things that most of the mega churches probably had. We're ordering those things now, and so we're placing stations everywhere. We one of our director of ministry, Sister Pam, who works in the medical field. We have a lot of our members who work in the medical field. Took us through a training, so I wanted to make sure that when people come to church, how can we make the church feel like a worship center and not a warehouse, with all the different things we have to do, the wearing of the mask and the social distancing, and I can't touch. And so we're working very hard to make church feel still like church. We're working very hard. We're doing things like we're using softer words. So we're not saying social distancing. We're saying social seating. We're not saying you have to stay 6 feet. We're saying things like give us some grace space. And so we're even dumbing down the words a little bit so people can feel comfortable, because I believe if we're so distracted on who's wearing a mask and making sure I'm staying away and making sure I'm not touching nobody and make sure you get on your gloves, and Pastor, where is the sanitizing station? If we're so focused on that, we're going to miss the word of God.
Absolutely.
And so we're working very, very hard to make sure that the church feels comfortable when they come back in, that even we're going to do a video to send out to our members. Because if I told my membership that we're going to go back to church on Sunday, 70% of them would go, but I still got that 30 that's going to be kind of leery.
Absolutely.
So we have to work on making sure that 30 feels comfortable. So when we get back, like I said, church can feel like a worship center and not a warehouse.
Absolutely. I know that it's going to be difficult for us to transition back into the sanctuary because of the virus. The numbers in North Carolina are just amazing.
Yeah, it's just spiked today.
Spiked, yes.
Yeah.
And the number of people in the hospital and the death number keeps going up. So I'm sure that people are apprehensive about it, but about going back to the building.
Yeah.
Because we are mobile tabernacles.
Right.
I love how the Lord has shifted worship. It's not about entertainment. It's not about who's doing the announcements. It's not about who's leading the song.
Right.
It's not about the praise dance. It's not about who's the worship leader or me praying. It's about the word of God. And I love how he's just this kind of this closed the gap, and now we hear some good preaching. Without
you're finding out who can really preach now. Like, how his church is that packed and he preaching like that. I'm just telling you, finding out who can really preach.
I was not going there. I was not going there.
What you talking about?
Listen,
really?
I was not going there. I promise you, I was not going there
preachers.
Tonight.
I'm just playing. I'm the least of them. Y'all heard her say it. Okay, she started it.
No, I did not. I didn't start it, but this is what I will say. There's some I cannot watch. I mean, there's some I cannot.
The word is
watch.
the word.
There are some I cannot watch.
The word is the word.
Absolutely.
The word is the word.
Yeah, there's some I cannot watch. And so I love the fact that I have an option. Just like we choose the church that we want to go to because whatever reason. Macedonia Missionary Baptist Church is a church that I was led to go to worship.
Right.
And that's where I love to go.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm fed. And I'm comfortable there. And I shouldn't use that word in front of you because I know what that's gonna say.
What? But okay. Go ahead. It's your people. You comfortable? Yeah. You comfortable at your church?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we have the option to choose who we want to look at and who we don't. And I love the fact that the platform is plentiful.
Right.
I mean, because we can watch we can turn and watch our pastor, we can watch other pastors, we can watch multiple services. I guarantee you, I watch multiple services every week.
Right.
And then I can go back and catch them if I don't catch them on Sunday during the week. So we have an opportunity to hear the word from so many different people. Yeah. The opportunity is so prevalent because there were times where I couldn't visit because, I had responsibilities at the church that I'm a member of. Right. But now I have the option to go visit lots of churches sitting in the comfort of my home. Yeah. And like I said, all the other stuff is gone. We're hearing preaching. Right. Maybe a few songs, but for the most part, we're just hearing the word of God. Yes. Yeah. Being preached and taught.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's Jesus wasn't followed by a praise team. He didn't have ushers or stewardess or deaconess. You can consider this 12 that he rolled with, but that was it. And so when he got to the tabernacle, he went inside the temple. The Bible says he unrolled the scroll and he read from the book of Isaiah, and then he pulled up. That was it. And so he didn't have all the fluff and all the fanfare. And so this is definitely a difference in ministry. I love it. And I can tell that people love it as well. I mean, you don't have to get dressed and put on your Sunday best. I mean, you can be right in the comfort of your own home. And I can see more people preaching now. And if it's hard for me to feed my congregation if I'm not being fed myself. And so there's a smorgasbord of different delightful things that I can listen to, and I kind of grab on what's ministering to me at that point, and allow the Lord to feed me. So I think that it's the best for this time. I really like where we are. God knows exactly where we are, and so we trust Him. And I'm not, as the song saying, "Don't you worry about a thing." So I'm feeling real good about this. I love preaching from my living room. Yeah.
Okay, there's a question from Teresa. I had to find it. Teresa Northfleet. I hope I'm pronouncing her.
Oh, yeah. I know. I think she's at Warner Temple.
Okay, it says, Pastor Jermaine, what would you say to young black leaders, myself included, who have been silent and privately protest because we're still angry and don't want that anger to outweigh our passion? What do we do? What do we say that have not already been said?
I would say that make the right connections. We do have things in place in every city that we're just going to have to yield to if we ever want to have some systemic change, especially when it comes to legislation. And so you have your NAACP. There are a plethora of faith groups that meet together, one being the Interfaith Group here, Roundtable, One Christian Network. These are groups that people of faith who just want to see a change can join and connect. I would not encourage anyone to go rogue right now. This is the time, if we're going to make change together, then we have to be together. So make the proper connections with groups that are already doing something, and lend your voice and support there, because in most of these organizations, you're always going to need a Martin Luther King who's going to lead out in the front, but then you're also going to need an Ella Baker who's just going to run some flyers off in a printing shop.
Absolutely.
All of that is going to work together. So I would encourage all young leaders to do exactly the same thing that I'm doing. Join some organization, see what's going on. There is no reason to reinvent the wheel, because the more pop-up groups we have, like pop-up churches sometimes, the more division is going to cause just by separation. And then I believe the more the enemy can get involved. But we have to be one as much as possible.
Absolutely.
If we do different things, but we have to have one mission.
Absolutely.
So that's what I would encourage our young black leaders to do. Join something that's already happening. And it's a smorgasbord. So many different groups. You find the one that fits you.
Absolutely.
Join, and I guarantee you we'll see each other around the table.
Absolutely. Thank you. That was a good answer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me see.
Sister Teresa.
Teresa, yes.
Yeah, thank you, Sister
Teresa.
All right.
That's an excellent question.
Tree. I got you. Homie girl. Yeah.
If y'all have any questions for Pastor Ermore, please put them down. I'll try my best to read them. We're glad to have Miss Mary Ann Fennell watching with us, Gwen Bellamy, and Quinn Jones. Beverly Steverson is watching, Patricia Holiday, Treadwell Bell, my sister Anna Sabrina Walker, the Dr. Devin Pickett, Pamela Smith, Pamela Hill is watching, and Angela Tootin. We're so glad to have y'all sign on today. And Gordon McAllister, Denise is on, and so glad to have you, Denise. Christina Moody Davis, we're glad to have you. Barbara Akins, we're glad to have you on Respus Live. Thank you all so much for signing on tonight. And if you would please share the video. We're talking about some very good topics on this evening. We're talking about what we can do differently and how church has changed so much for us, but has afforded us an opportunity to still be fed in our own homes. And it is so refreshing to see so many people using social media to get the word across to so many people. Whereas on Sunday morning, you may only have a certain amount of people, but now you have a platform where people from all over the world can.
Everybody's a mega pastor. I'm telling you, everybody is right now. Yeah.
Yes. And it is so great because it allows people the opportunity to listen to different pastors and listen to the word delivered in different ways. But the meaning, if it's the word of God, will always be the same.
Absolutely.
It'll help us grow in so many ways.
Yes.
So what would you say has been the most challenging, if there's anything, for you doing this COVID-19 and doing church differently? Is there one thing that sticks out more so than others that has been the most challenging for you?
No, I really, far as church and ministry, we're going to find a way to make it happen. We're going to push through. We're going to create new ways to worship the Lord. We're going to find a way. So not with church ministry, but if anything that has been the challenge is my children. Having to have the conversations with them has been the challenging thing. So me and my wife Tanya working together to kind of tell them, you can't hang out with your friends right now. Just give it a little bit of time. And them not understanding.
Absolutely.
If anything, when it comes to church and ministry, how it affected our graduates. We had 2 high school graduates.
Yes.
I think we had 5 college graduates this year at St. Luke. So for them to walk to every class for 4 years, but now can't walk across the stage.
Absolutely.
It was very challenging. So we had a Zoom call with them, and they met with the pastor just to kind of see how things were going. So everybody's now have graduated, and they gotten over the hump, and so they're about to start either grad school or their lives. But that was challenging.
Absolutely.
And still today, my son, I was out on the bike ride, and he texted me, he's like, "Can I go ride my bike with my friends?" And I'm like, "No, not yet. Just kind of wait a little bit until I feel a little bit comfortable." And hearing Governor Cooper talk about the spike that just happened, bro, you're gonna be in the house a little longer. Okay, so you might as well get used to that game. I'm gonna learn how to play the Xbox with you. Me and you gonna be Xboxing together, because
Yeah.
we don't want anything to happen.
Absolutely.
And I would caution people. One thing I don't believe, and this is a challenge, I don't think that people are taking it serious enough.
Yeah.
And the church is trying to battle right now between who got faith and who got fear. And really it's about being a disciple is listening to what the government says. We have to follow these things.
Absolutely.
And so if you're going to go out, put your mask on.
Yeah.
If you're going to go out, have your gloves on. If you're going to go out, keep your distance. And then we can do. But I'm seeing so many folk doing none of that.
Absolutely.
So we have to be very, very careful. We have to be very, very mindful. So that because as long as they gonna not keep social distancing, you're gonna keep me in the house longer. I need them to put their mask on because listen, longer you don't have that mask on, the longer I'm gonna have to stay in the house. Okay, so you're gonna make me upset. Put that mask on, so we can be very careful. I have a lot of people in my church who are in the medical position or medical profession. I was just talking to one of my members today named Juanita on the way up here, her and her husband, and they called to check on me. And as I'm talking to her, she's saying, Pastor, you got to be careful. She's telling me some new things. So I got new things coming at me all the time. So my consciousness is heightened when it comes to being cautious about how we have to be with this disease.
Absolutely.
And so I'm just praying that everybody will be safe. And if you go out, just follow the guidelines.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it is difficult because I have a 16-year-old and it's very difficult for them to understand the new rules or the new norm versus, hanging out with your friends and not knowing who is a carrier.
Right.
Know. So it's difficult. I think more so for teenagers than it is for the little ones.
It is. Yeah, it really is. And there's so many things that are changing every single day, every single week, right?
Absolutely.
So the best thing I've heard was one lady said, just stay home.
Yeah.
So now it forces you to have fun with your family and be more creative and do more things. And the fact that I don't have to go to so many meetings, that gives me more time to spend with my two children, to spend with Tanya. And so we really have to be creative because it's a matter of life and death. We see the numbers, right?
Yeah.
And I believe as James Cleveland used to sing about, this too shall pass. We just need to be more patient.
Absolutely. It is teaching us a lot of patience. And just like this evening, when I asked you about coming, one of your concerns was, okay, I don't know.
Yeah, you know what I told you. Go ahead and tell the crowd what I told you.
I'm getting ready to tell them.
Yeah, tell them what I said.
Oh,
I
you
want
can
my folk
best
to know.
believe.
Tell them what I said when you asked
so
me
I
to
had
come.
this at first. He's like, I don't know him. I'm not know. I don't
This
know.
your second time asking me to come
Absolutely,
too, right? Yeah.
absolutely. And I wasn't gonna listen at me. Virgo was coming out, me boy. I tell you.
Bring Burger out. Come on.
I was like, I wasn't gonna
out.
ask you no more either. That's what I was gonna say.
Y'all hear that, y'all? Y'all hear that? That's the Reverend, okay?
Listen, you can throw the Reverend card if you want to. So listen, Pastor, in all honesty, I do come in and of course, Jamie cleans the studio and then I come in and do my own personal cleaning because I've always been peculiar even when I was a little girl. So I've always been that tomboyish, prissy little thing running around Burgos. So I've always been peculiar about things and I like things to be in its place as much as possible. So I come in and I clean everything. So Pastor Armand comes in here with his mask on, of course, and
tell him.
he says, I was going to ask you to wait for me to get here so I can see you clean.
There it is. Y'all hear that? I guarantee you right now, when you said that, I guarantee you Pam Evans, Cara Emerson, I guarantee you Stephanie Robinson, I guarantee you Juanita, all of them, and Wanda Williams are rejoicing right now because they heard they pastor. Yeah, okay.
And I
just want to
you want to share what I told you?
Nah, I think isn't it rated G for God? Isn't this show rated G for glory? No, but all seriousness, I she had everything together, and I know how she is. And she said, Pastor, it's only me and my producer, who's a great man. I just met him. He's a wonderful producer. He's an awesome, wonderful spirit. And she said it's going to be us three in here. And so I had on my mask, but comfortable to take it off. And I was going to say, I want to see you wipe the stuff off. But she wasn't going to do it anyway if I told her, because she don't listen to nobody but herself. So she ain't going to do it. It ain't even her. But no, everything is all sanitized in here, y'all. Everything is.
And so we just started back because we actually just stopped broadcasting for a while, and we just started back. Our first show back was with Big B last Monday.
Oh,
so
really?
This is our second show back.
So I'm the second one that's okay. So I thought maybe y'all kept going.
No.
Oh,
no,
really?
We stopped. And was it March, Jamie? Yeah,
Okay, y'all took some
because
time off. Okay,
yeah.
I don't feel so bad then. Okay, I'm up at the top coming in on the second.
See,
You know,
so you
Howard Hewitt
just
said love's better the second time around.
so you just gonna make this all about you.
No,
This
I'm
is
not. What
this
it's
and
about.
this is why your Facebook page is full of videos of yourself.
It's listen. There is a name I love to hear. Oh, how I love Jesus. Okay, come on now. We got the show. People are watching,
Yes.
watching the show.
I enjoy the fact that you're down to earth and that you're real and genuine, because in 2020 that's what we need. One of the reasons why I love my pastor so much is he's authentic and he's real,
Yes.
and you got to be able to be real so that people can see that,
Right.
and it draws us, especially because now most people can tell in a moment if you're not sincere,
Right.
especially younger people. And so it is so good to see someone that's genuine, that's not a super saint. And if you are, that's fine. I'm not saying
Right.
anything wrong with that if that's where you need to be.
Right,
But it's
right.
good that you're in a point where people can talk to you and
Right.
can have fun with you and can joke with you, and you enjoy life and your family enjoy life, and you're just not so strategic that you can't enjoy the things that the Lord has blessed us with.
Right.
So there's a balance that you have that is beautiful, and it draws so many people to you, is because you're able to relate to them on so many different levels.
Yeah, yeah.
I think some of the things that we've gone through in our past has helped us be able to share some stories with others that make them feel comfortable. So thank you for being who you are and for keeping it real.
Yeah.
And that's what we need, real and relevant. That's what
Right,
we need
right.
in 2020.
Yeah.
And so we'll appreciate you being that type of pastor, that you're not just a pastor at St. Luke AME Zion. You're
Right.
the community pastor.
Right.
You
Oh,
know?
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Really?
You pastor.
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
I'm just okay. I didn't know that. That okay.
Okay, yeah,
But that's just your opinion. Everybody.
No,
don't-
actually, I have some factual information, and I'll
You
share
did?
this. One of my friends, a dear friend of mine, shared that you counseled she and her husband for marriage counseling, and she was not a member of your church, or her husband wasn't. So
Okay.
that's the kind of stuff that I hear
Right.
that helps me validate that you're a
Right,
community pastor.
right.
Nothing you've said,
Right.
but this is people from the outside just sharing that they've interacted with you and that you've helped them and that you've mentored them and that you've counseled them, and they're not even members of your church. That makes you, as far as
Wow.
I'm concerned, a community pastor, as well as how you give and how you give back to the community and how you're in the streets and how you're on the wall praying yesterday for the community, not only just your church, but for the entire world and the community. So to me, that makes you a community pastor. So thank you for keeping it real and relevant and going into places. I mean, in the hard places, and some people won't go to some of the places you've gone to minister and to help people. So we thank you for being that servant leader. And I can't say it enough. It's a beautiful thing to be a servant leader. And this is one of my prayers from a professional perspective as well, that I'll lead and be a servant leader, because in order for us to really lead, we need to serve.
Right.
We,
Right.
we need to serve.
Yeah.
And even as a pastor of a church, you still need to serve
That's right.
more
That's
than
right.
ever.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. I appreciate all that. And I don't know what kind of time we have, but I want to throw it back because you talked about this platform that you have, and some of the things that you did not want to do, but for such a time as this.
Absolutely.
And I remember you and I talking about this.
Yes.
And it has come to fruition.
Yes.
Fruition. So it's so great when you can actually see the vision, and then actually walk in the vision, and you are walking in what you talked about a while back.
Yeah.
And so I'm just so glad that you're letting the Lord use you for this platform, because people are listening, and you have a voice to preach, but you have a voice that can reach people as well, because you preached at my church, and you preach with compassion, and you preach with conviction. And so this seems to give you another platform. I mean, I don't think that God sets people up to get the word out if he can't trust them with his word. And he trusts you that you're even opening up and people are hearing from all over and replaying this. No one can probably go back and replay the 2 sermons that you preached at St. Luke, but what they hear now, they can replay that over and over again. So I'm just excited, and you're not just stingy with it, you're sharing it. I mean, you're
absolutely.
inviting people on, and you're just the host, and you're just the sponsor. You're kind of letting them get to shine. And so it's just so good how you're bringing this together, and people are logging on and looking, and you got your page, and it's so great for me to see because I remember when it was an infant, and so now you're past toddler and you're about to go to kindergarten. You just keep on growing. It just keeps on moving and growing and growing. And so I just want to, as Grandma used to say, want to stay around and see what the end gonna be like.
And I thank you, and I'll share this because it's my personal business with you. That a conversation that we had, and you challenged me because I shared with you one day that I was comfortable, and you say, so you're just gonna sit there on the seat.
Wow.
And I didn't like it at all. I did not like that conversation. Matter of fact, there's a lot of conversations we had that I did not like.
Oh, okay.
But you challenged me. You know, you say you're too gifted to just sit there, and I'm like, I'm comfortable, you know. I'm just barely making it. What do I have to say? What do I have to share? And so you challenged me to do something, and it wasn't long after that challenge that this was birthed. And this was, and I guess God just used Jamie because he approached me about doing it. I guess I was like, who wouldn't listen to me talk?
Right.
What do I have to say that's relevant? You know,
bunch,
and I'm just grateful for this platform and for allowing me the opportunity to meet people and interact with people. But I do have to say that you challenged me to not be comfortable with the gifts that God has given me.
Right.
And I didn't like it at all. I didn't at all. But it bothered me. I remember sharing it with Pastor Glaze, and I was telling her, I said, I just don't like how he said it, but it was what I needed to challenge me to get up and do something.
I ain't got time to sugarcoat stuff with you because I know your potential. So I don't grade on the curve. I'm letting you know right now. I have a resilient coach that I see, Tracy Newkirk. Shout out to her, and she just makes sure that I'm straight. But I think that when we talk about accountability, a lot of times people apply that to politicians, and they say, once we put you in office, we want to hold you accountable. And in their mind, that means what you said, we need you to do. But accountability is also when you are a friend to someone and you know their potential, that you don't let them sit on being comfortable, that you do your best to pull out the best in them so that their light can shine as well. And so if I could help somebody along this road, then my living will not be in vain. So I kind of go around and I see that potential. I want to pull it out of you so that you can see what you can do, because I know the potential and the gift that God put in you. And so it was easy for you. I mean, the things that will hurt you now will help you later.
Absolutely. It wasn't easy. It's not easy for someone.
And you were upset, but look at you now.
But it wasn't, but let me say this, it was progressive. It wasn't easy for me to hear you say that and challenge me in that way, because like I said, and I think Danielle just signed on. Hi, Pastor Glaze.
Pastor Glaze, what up, girl? Reverend.
So I talked to Pastor Glaze about it, and she says, I agree with him. And so it wasn't like I could go to her crying and she was like, well, he shouldn't have said that. She was like, no, I agree with him 100%.
Yeah.
And so it didn't even help going to her. Right. You know, it was like, there's something else that you have to do.
Right.
And so it wasn't easy hearing it.
Right.
Because and that's why I love to surround myself with people that's going to be truthful to me and that's going to pour into me. And that's what you've done. And so when I call you a community pastor, I mean, from me as well, because you challenged me like none other person. And it did not sit well with me. I'm telling you right now, I was on fire about that thing. And I just didn't. And then when I went to Danielle and she was like, I agree with him. Right. And so I said,
well, me and Pastor Glaze are not concerned about your emotions. We're concerned about your evangelism. And that's why we did.
So we're going to do some shout outs, because this show is not about me. It's about you. John Robinson Jr., thank you so much for joining us on tonight. My bonus mother, Edna Faison, is on. Hey, Ma. Thank you so much for joining on tonight. Sharon Wells, thank you. Cheryl Brunson, thank you so much. Mark Ray is watching. Shayna Hewitt, thank you so much for your donation. As we're actually in the midst of the show, Shayna Hewitt has given a donation to Respus Live. So if you would like to pour into this ministry, because that is what I call it, our Cash App and our PayPal is on the screen. Jamie, if you could put that in there for me, please. Okay, thank you. So we'll type it in. If you would like to give the Cash App, I can't remember what it is right offhand. I guess I should. I'll look it up real quick and put it in the comments. And if you would like to give. So thank you so much, Shayna Hewitt, for pouring into the ministry. Lachelle Johnson Peck, Faustina, thank you for watching. Lynette, also known as Tootsie, thank you for joining. Gary Burns, Angela Rhodes, thank you all so much. Danielle says, hey, y'all, iron sharpens iron.
That's right. That's right, Reb.
Thank you so much. Danielle, if you would, please, could you type in the Cash App and our PayPal for me? It says that Danielle said, tell the truth and shame the devil, Pastor Armour.
You know I got you, because she tripping today. She tripping today, Rev.
Listen. I'm not tripping. I was just telling you how I felt, and I was just being truthful about it. And I just wanted to share that I did share it with Pastor Glaze how I felt about what you said to me, but it challenged me, and
Yeah.
here I am today.
Here
And
you are today.
and so I thank you for challenging me. It is great when someone sees something in you that you don't see yourself.
Right.
I don't spend a lot of time thinking about me or looking into me, and I don't make my life about me. I make it about other people, and so it is good to finally have people in your corner that see things and call it out. And so that's what you did for me. And so that's why I say you're a community
God bless.
pastor.
God be the
My cousin
glory.
Darlene Avery just signed on. Thank you so much for signing on. So again, thank you so much for watching on tonight. And if it's okay with you, Pastor, I haven't asked, is it okay if Pam puts down how we could pour into your ministry at the church? If she could type down some stuff in the comments.
Yeah, maybe our Givelify. So,
Yes.
yeah, Pam. So Pam, if you could do that, and she's asking that put our Givelify on there for our church, and she will type that in. So thank you, Pam, for that.
Yes, and Pam, if you could put that in for us. And so we'll have in the comments if you'd like to pour into the ministry of Pastor Jermar.
Point to our church.
Yes, and
Yes.
I'm gonna get there.
Okay.
It's two
Okay,
folks.
yeah.
Can it be Respus Live
It's your
tonight?
show.
You
It's your
sure
show.
it's my show or is it
Okay,
your show?
you know,
I can't
it's your-
understand
it's
how
your
you can
show.
come on somebody's show and try to take over.
It's
Can
your
I
show.
be the host?
You know what? I'm about to fall back. I'm falling back. Okay, my bad.
Listen, if you like to pour into both Pastor Armour and the ministry and the church at St. Luke AME Zion, please,
Yes.
Pamela Marshman is going to type in how you can actually give to that ministry. And of course, if you'd like to be a sponsor for Respus Live, there's no donation too big or too small. And thank you, Pastor Armour, for
Thank
being
you.
a sponsor for Respus Live. You
Yes.
have also poured into this ministry, and I really, really praise God for that. Thank you for that. Thank you, Shirley. Miss Shirley said it was a great show, and she loved it. Thank you. Hi,
Thank you, Miss
Frida Hill.
Shirley.
Thank you so much for joining. And I'm going to wait until Pam put that information in before we go offline and to see if Danielle can put in my Cash App as well. But again, thank you, Pam. The link to give to St. Luke AME Zion online, Pam Marshman Evans just posted it in the comments. So if you want to pour into the ministry of St. Luke AME Zion Church, please give. And I don't want to get preachy on you, but I tell you, it's a blessing when you're able to give and to pour into other people. So Pastor Armour, thank you so much for coming.
Thank
During the
you.
COVID-19,
Yes.
you were hesitant about coming at
I
first.
wasn't comfortable. Yeah.
He said he wasn't comfortable.
But you did a good job, and you and your producer did a great job making me feel comfortable.
Hey, Ada Lane.
Coming through it all. Yeah.
So I'm glad you came and
Yes.
to share. For such a time as this, we need to hear from our leaders.
Yes.
We need to hear from the church community. We need to hear. And this is an amazing platform for you to come on and share what you've done in the community, what you think we can do moving forward, how we can be a change agent. And so we are the change that we've been waiting for.
Yes.
It's our
Yes,
time.
absolutely.
The time is now for us to move forward. So as we get an action plan together, thank you, Danielle. It's it's $ Respus Live. Thank you so much, Danielle. I appreciate you signing that on for me. So if you want to give to Respus Live, she just typed that in as well. But thank you, Pastor, so much for coming and letting us know that that now is the time for us
Yes.
to move forward, and how as a community, a church community, we can move forward. And how we can look at things and find good perspectives out of them. Because I noticed that when I asked you what was challenging, it wasn't really anything personal. It was just other people and how they had to deal with what's going on.
Right,
So I
right,
appreciate
right.
that.
Yeah.
So is there anything you'd like to say before we?
No, I thank you for this opportunity, and I just pray that people will be safe and continue to have the hope, because this will pass. This will pass, and we'll be able to look back on it and sing our songs. Remember when? So we just have to continue to pray and continue to be faithful. In the words of Ty Tribbett, if he did it before, he'll do it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we'll just wait to see the glory of the Lord.
I love that. Lakeisha Fullwood said awesome, and
Lakeisha
she loves both of us.
Fullwood.
She said both of
Yes.
us, so it's
I
not
said,
all about you.
No, but but she goes to my church. Hi, Keish. Share Keish. Yes, she's another medical professional at the hospital, so I'm surrounded by them. But she's wonderful, wonderful girl, wonderful family, wonderful children, and wonderful little round head little boys they just had. Aiden, my man. Yeah. So, what's up, Keish? Good to see you.
Patricia Brown, thank you so much for signing. And Eileen Hankins Moore, thank you for signing on. Bonnie, Gail Jordan, thank you guys for signing on. Thank you, Danielle, for finding that for me. And I'm going to be studious next time. I'll have that information ready. Hi, Yashika. Thank you so much for joining today. Thank you, Pam. Pamela said we did a great job.
Thanks, Chief. Thanks, Chief.
Danielle said it's going to be all right. The tribute. Thai tribute is going to be all
Be all right.
Absolutely. So y'all be
gonna be all right.
encouraged and continue to practice social distancing and personal hygienes and wash your hands and wear your mask
Right.
and wait.
Yes.
The 3 W's are
Yes.
very important. But thank you so much for joining. And if you would like to be a blessing to the St. Luke AME Church family, the information is in the comments below. If you would like to sow a seed into the ministry of the community church, and also if you would like to be a sponsor for Respus Live or to donate to Respus Live, in the comments is the Cash App and PayPal. If you would like to sow into this ministry, because I do call it a ministry, Pastor Armour.
It is.
Because we're able to share with so many
Yeah.
people. Thank you all again for coming and signing on and for hanging out with Pastor Armour and I. And if you would please share the video. And thank you so much for everything.
Sponsors, beat your face.
Thank you. Jamie has to keep me straight. Again, thank you, Shayna, so much for actually your contribution on tonight. I know I received a notification while we were on the show. Let me give a shout out, to our sponsors. Our Respus Live music, the theme music you hear is by A&A Promotion, and my makeup is by Beauty by Drea. And today, Drea did a more natural look for me today. So Drea just did it, and I was just so thankful. Thank you so much. Here's to 2020 and living our best life. We still are able to live our best life, even in the midst of the quarantine, even in the midst of a pandemic, even in the midst of racial distress all over the world. We're still able to live our best life. We're still grateful. We're still thankful, and we're still moving forward. So be encouraged and don't let this get you down. Trouble don't last always, and this too shall pass. So may his peace be with each of you until we meet again. Good night, and thank you so much for joining Respus Live. Thank you again, Pastor Armour. It is my pleasure. Thank you, sir.